Hello, everybody. Welcome on 18th episode of Cyphercast. Cyphercast is podcast hosted by CypherDog, and my today's guest is Paweł Mączka. Hello, Paweł.
Hello. Hello, Przemek. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Tell me something about you. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, so a few words. So it's good that it's 18th of the Cybercast because I'm 18 years old. So this is one, connection. So or double the 18. So let's imagine that I'm as old as I'm working in the IT industry. So it's quite 18 years in the IT industry. I'm CTO and VP at Storware, and I'm responsible to execution all of the technology. I'm saying about myself that I'm taking vision into the execution. And the Storware is all about the backup and recovery. So we are the Polish vendor who are working on a backup and recovery market and selling worldwide.
Today I checked your story and I found that the Storware is 8 years old. Is it true?
Yeah, it's true. First, let's say code that we write with one of the founders was in 2013. So yeah, it's 8 years.
So we cannot say that Storware is startup, or we can.
It depends, From one side, of course, we're saying that we are not, we are moved, and we took all of the good and bad things to be in a startup, and right now we definitely are not from the positioning point of view, the market perspective, because not all of our customers would like to hear, hey, this is another startup here. But from the, let's say, philosophy point of view, the way how we do work, the way how we still communicate each other, and how we are, let's say, agile, and, how we gather the pace and how fast we are from some executive things or even the development perspective, I do feel that we still, are the startup. So it depends, internally, yes. From the outside, we are near 50 people right now. We've been around in 60 countries worldwide with our platforms. So depends on the definition. So I'm in the middle, yes. But if you asking me personally, when I'm sitting in my office in my studio, yes, we are still the startup.
Okay. Today I found some market survey about backup, and I found information that cloud backup is increasing yearly, about 24% yearly. It means it's quite big. This is much bigger, a little bigger than cybersecurity market.
Mm-hmm.
What change await us shortly? What do you think about the nearest future? It means during next 3-4 years in this area.
Okay, so first of all, let's explain why the cloud is growing so fast. I think it's 24. It's looks really promising, but to be honest, I think the more because of some cloud workloads and the SaaS applications such as Salesforce, Microsoft 365, or the other platforms that they should be protected. A little bit enforcing customers to go into the cloud-to-cloud approach. So I think that's why there is a huge space where we or our competition or the whole market is going into this direction, and we are growing. What is more, there is let's say huge demand to move from the on-prem installation into the backup as a service. But honestly, what I see when we spoke with the mid-sized or the enterprise customers, I don't see that they will move so drastically in this way. I think the cloud much more growing in the SMB and the small business area. And what will be changed significantly? We call it modern workloads. So this is a cloud. This is a container-based new architectures. This is the hybrid cloud approach. When we more and more moving our on-premise installation into managed service providers side or the public cloud providers side. So definitely, I don't see at this point revolution. I see, let's say, native path to move into the new places where the new workloads, such as containers, will demand from the backup vendors the new way how to protect this kind of resources.
Okay. Is it possible to develop good solutions in a changing and dynamic world now?
It's of course yes, but it's challenging because from one side you have, like I said already, new workloads, so the new things are already going into the industry, and the new things require the new protection methods. There's a huge difference how to protect the container than you protect the typical file system, for example, especially when you have a stateful or stateless way how to implement. What is more, we do not only concentrate on how to properly protect the data, but we need to also protect the way how we already store in even the backups, for example, from the ransomware attacks or the other malwares that are more often. So right now the challenge is that not only how to properly protect on a source way, but also how to protect the target. And there's lots of investments in the backup and recovery industry that are preventing to help the companies to achieve the additional shield of the protection, even if the ransomware occurs. And be sure that, of course, the backup can easily help you to get recovered in case of ransomware. But right now there is more and more cases when the ransomware not also going on the data protection data and starting to even the restoration is even more difficult because the ransomware is not only on a production side but also on a backup data. So this innovation paths us to thinking more globally of the data protection platforms as a whole solution, and also as a heart, because our data is a fuel for the 21st century. And there is also a movement and innovation how to more use already stored data on from the backup perspective. So 10 or 20 years ago, when we had mostly cases backup on a tape, you just stored the backup on the tapes, took the tape off to the offload location, and forgot about this data. And you did in some occurrence way, either daily basis, weekly basis, whatever. You have some, gigabytes, terabytes of the data somewhere in the offsites. Right now, because the way how we store the data is changing drastically, for example, using the object storages as a major backup destination or the backup repository or secondary data, there is also a need to, and thinking, we are lots of thinking with our customers, okay, how we could reuse this data if we will already store it, for example, for the year or 2 or 3. Can we use it for the analytics perspective? Can we do something more, not only set and forget, how we used to do it before technology didn't give us a chance to play with it, like in object storage's way.
Okay, for those of you watching us on YouTube, thank you very much for tuning in. You can request a full recording of this episode by clicking on a link below. And we are back. Paweł, how to be competitive to the biggest vendors of data protection systems like Acronis or Veeam? Because I think that there are hundreds of vendors of such kind of solutions. Do young companies have a competitive advantage?
Okay, Acronis, Veeam, never heard about it. But honestly, Przemek, you need to do your job, and when because you need to believe and have idea, knowledge, and the thing how to execute this vision into your customers. Let's come back, for example, 2013. So I came to one of the founders saying, okay, let's do the backup data protection company, And everybody who knows the Magic Quadrant from the Gartner perspective, there are some 10 players who are already on the market since last 20 years, for example. And everybody said, okay, you don't have a chance to play with the biggest. But my vision was, okay, what if these biggest players, they do not see a real need, or they taking the decision based only of the growth of the existing market? Like, you mentioned Acronis, you mentioned Vim. Vim did a lots of effort to be the one of the leaders in the data protection for VMware. And they did a brilliant job in the last 10 years and proved that they can work and be one of the leaders, but they fully concentrate and dedicated to this kind of the workload. What we did in the on the early stage, we started the continuous data protection for endpoints, and we even had mobile data protection like iOS, Android, or even Windows Phone. I know nobody right now using this kind of devices, but we did it. So it was a kind of the innovation. We said that nobody did it worldwide. Let's be the first one. And we also did it in a hypervisor world. I've seen that there is not many, even it was 2015, none of the biggest players didn't care about the KVM-based and Xen-based hypervisors. And there were plenty of the customers, like 10% of whole market, who's using this kind of the workloads and the virtualization engines. And this customer started to screaming and saying, nobody cares about us because everybody cares about the VMware and the Hyper-V, because there are 80% of the whole virtualization workloads. So what we said is that, okay, we will help you and we will give you the enterprise-grade data protection for this kind of the workloads, because we do believe that the KVM-based and open-sourced and Xen-based hypervisors are, really good engines, and you should have a really good data protection platforms like everybody has for the other vendors, such as VMware and Hyper-V. So this is our long story short, to starting from the niche to see where is the place to grow and be the leaders in this space. So after 6 years of, for example, our second product called vProtect, right now, I do believe that we are, on top of minds on every customer who is right now thinking about the KVM based backup, or Red Hat Enterprise Linux backup, or Oracle Linux virtualization, or Nutanix, and all of this kind of the virtualization flavors using the KVM behind the scenes. You have a Citrix, you have a XCP-ng, Proxmox. So there's many of the players who right now has a data protection because of us. And what happened after a few years? Right now you have a beta version of Vim who started the journey with the KVM based hypervisors. So we're saying great, but we have it since the last 5 years. So we're really glad that other players see this space. Acronis, you mentioned, they have their own, let's say, the way they go into the cyber security, building the different kind of the platforms when the data protection is the part of the solution. I do really like the approach, what they're doing. From my perspective, it's really innovative.
Okay, and another question is very similar to our situation now, because we are Cypherdoc, we are at the beginning of way and have customers on worldwide. How to build a company on global market? What do we need to know? From your perspective, maybe some advice.
Some hints and tips from my perspective. Yes. Okay, so shall I start with the technology or sales approach?
I think that sales approach, because technology is easy, we can say.
Okay, and you are definitely right here. Technology are the same for all of the markets, because you cannot change it or regionally change it to the specific customer. But the first lesson that we learned is that every region has its own understanding or understanding of your message. So what we noticed is that you're doing the same presentation sales in Germany, in the Sweden, in the UK, in France, and everybody understood you in a little bit different way. So we noticed that we need to definitely learn and better understand each country individually and their specific needs. We, for example, noticed that in Europe we need to sell much more deep technically because the European customers doesn't like the beautiful story. In the US, it's in a opposite. You need to have a really good story and really good technology behind the scenes, but without the proper story, you cannot hit the fence. Even the POC approach is totally different. So European is, this is what I do love. It's much more deep dive technical, and they would like to get more insights. And you sometimes need more time to build the trust. The German market, we need to struggle with the few years before we sold to the first customer. For example, Italian market or the Spanish Portuguese market, we have a brilliant partners who are helping us to achieve the new sales or approaching the message from us through them to the specific segments. So find the proper partners. Not many of them, because what we believe is that you cannot build the trust and the relation with hundreds of the thousands of the partners at the first in the first few years, especially if you don't have enough people to go with it. So find specialized partners. We have right now roughly about 150. We still, let's say, growing, but we decided that we don't need the thousands of the partners. We just need a few even for each country, and it will be enough, or even one, if they fully understand what we are doing and they know all of the advantage that they're going through our technology. Because they need to understand the technology, but also the sales approach. So different markets, different story. Know your buyer personas per each country, and try to understand how they taking your message, and ask them the question: Is it enough? Do you understand everything? Because our lesson learned was that we took a lots of effort in different countries and we behave in a bad way. I'm not saying that we did a bad job, but if I came back a few years back, I will do a few things different. I will do the different presentation, the different way how to do the live demo, or much more faster say no to some of the customers.
And what about Polish market? Because you are a Polish company, and I think that on Polish market it's not too easy to make business if you are Polish company.
No, in Poland is a different story, because our partners right now, there's lots of friends even right now from the business partner perspective, they saying, we really like what you do, Paweł, but we will wait 1 or 2 more years because we would like to have all of the features that we seek in to be much more competitive. And I say, okay, if you will not help me at this point, you will not fasten my development. Because I need more sales to put more investment into development. But this is a quite funny story. So they're waiting for the better times, and I need to find a way how to how to help them in the future. But we most growing abroad, especially in South Europe, South America, even North America. So the funny story is that we have more customers in America right now comparing to Poland. So maybe because we started from this niche market, and still few people thinks that we are not for the other, let's say, workloads such as VMware and Hyper-V. But let's wait. We need to be patient here. Maybe in 2-3 years when we will meet again, I will tell you a different story. But what I noticed 4 years ago, and I remember this talk with my development team. They said that I've never heard in Poland that we really like your approach, vision, and the way how you cooperate with us. And we had lots of customers abroad who invest or make a decision not because of the feature list, but the way how we, let's say, doing the support, or the way how we building the roadmap, the way how we listen them and give them the opportunity to let's say agile even the roadmap today needs. So this is the things that uh, I've never had with this when I was speaking with the Polish government of, for example, Polish enterprise. So a little bit different story.
Yes, it's true. Can we back to data protection? I have another question. What is business looking for, and what are users looking for in data protection?
Three things. Good question. I think simplicity. This is a key point right now. It's not only in the data protection, Przemysław, but everybody looking for the solution that it will simplify and make their life easier. So the simplicity is the first, or one of the first reason during a POC how the customer is perceiving, seeing our application. Second, the data protection is a kind of the let's say policy. So they need to trust that in case of data loss, they can easily recover the data. So always you need to have a partner, the vendor, which will help you, or who is helping you will help you through the not only for the good times but in the bad times, when the data will lose, when your VMs will go down, when your file server will go down, when your ransomware attack will go through the hundreds of the different laptops on your OneDrive issue if you're using the Microsoft 365. So you need to build the trust. So this is one of the reasons how we are really close to our partners or customers during the POC. We need to earn this trust as fast as possible. And the third thing is that what I do believe, and this should be a key factor, is the open API and openness to the third party integration. We've seen that this cloud movement, this hybrid cloud approach, allows us to go into the projects where the data protection should be a part of something bigger project, not as a separate island, like it used to be in the past. So the easy of the integration through the RESTful API. This is what we have for all option to hide our solution with the different solution and expose it through the third party portal platform or the UI. It's crucial, especially for the managed service providers or the bigger enterprises that we cooperating with. So simplicity, trust, and the openness, open API approach. We call it also freedom of choice because we have the open API and we have a really huge number of the different targets where we can put this data in the end.
Another question connected with business, because you are selling your solutions through channel. Very often, especially venture capitals or business angels, ask me why channel in cybersecurity solutions.
Why channel? For me, it's a simple question. You will never have enough money to go directly. So imagine that right now you go into the biggest players, even in data protection, cybersecurity field, and saying you are on your own. You don't need anybody else. So in this case, if you would like to attract, let's say, 10 foreign markets like Italy, you should invest to have a local representation there. So if you have a money that the CyberDog or Storware can install branches on each country, then I would like to say we don't need a channel. We'll do everything directly. But it's quite significant investment and the cost, and it's time consuming because you need to again build the trust and relation. The channel, in opposite, they are the people who already have this relation and has the interest to build a new kind of the portfolio. And this is the way how we looking not for the biggest partners in specific region or the country. We're looking for the partners that are also looking for some innovative companies, even the small vendors, or they're looking to build some innovative portfolio based on the different segments of the products, like in a data protection, in a security. And they see that in the end, it can be a win-win scenario. When they're selling the solution, when they're selling the services, they can margin, and they will help you to go to the specific local without the investment. So it's better to give them the really good margin without worried about the local presence there. And right now, imagine that we sold this to the 60 countries, and we only have one branch outside in the Czech Republic. And we decided that because my sales director, Marek Bradac, is from the Czech. And we decided that since the beginning, we didn't invest in the local branches. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but definitely it could cost us more than to work and build the trustful relationship with our partners.
I think the same, because I think that selling cybersecurity solutions connected is with relations. Without relations, you cannot be available on market. This is the basis for business. And we can back to data protection. I have two questions which I received from our partners and people who are watching us. What is data resilience and business continuity, and why business continuity is so important?
Mm-hmm. So I will find this how to simplify the questions, because it's I can take it as a 15 minutes monologue, and I don't want I don't want to kill the audience. No, okay. So for me, the business continuity is the one question always to the business. How much costs you 1 second of your business if your whole business goes down, or your critical data that keeps the whole processes, the chain of the processes goes down. And even if you don't have the answer for 1 second, so let's try to imagine how long you can keep without running your critical services, like 1 hour. And after, and I always encouraging not only IT, but the CIOs or the key persons in the company to ask this question, because in most cases nobody knows the answer, or nobody don't want to deep dive and dig the answer, because it's not even if they will know, let's say, okay, it's a 10,000 euro. Multiply by the number of the hours. For example, let's take the mid-sized company. Let's take the 10,000 euro is the 1 hour that they have an e-commerce business. We know exactly that there. We also can talk about the millions, not the 10,000, but let's talk about the 10,000. So multiply by 24 hours, so 240k. And what if we will not, let's say, recover after this 24 hours? What if it will go into the 36, 38 or 72? How, let's say, what will be in the end the shame or the explanation to your existing customers or the partners that they align to your business? So if the story will be enough, or what shall we do in this scenario? There is some service that gives the numbers that more than 70% of the companies that they hit by huge disaster disaster and data losses, they will not they did not recover at all. I don't like to sell in this kind of the story, but we need to be aware that if we can lose 200 400 10k early, or 240k daily, so how we could mitigate or minimize this kind of the money to invest in the proper solution. And this is the place where the security or the data protection can help you, and where you can find the investment for this kind of the solutions. It's not only about products, but it's also about the processes, how we will answer if we will lose the business continuity. How do we have a proper procedure? Do we have a disaster recovery plan in a short DRP? Do we know from which point we should start in case of any data loss, or even any, let's say, compromise attack that we could hit on? And we don't need to. Unfortunately, there is tons of the ransomware attacks in the last years that it's much more easier right now to imagine that it can happen to us in a daily basis. Resiliency, it's also from my perspective, it's to have the proper technologies and the processes aligned to keep your business in a good shape in case of any let's say, breach, the attack, or the data loss. So you need to have a proper answers from the business perspective and from the technology perspective, and the proper tools, of course.
And my last question, what are the benefits of centralized and modular data protection platform?
Centralized, and what was the second, Przemek?
Modular.
Mm-hmm. Pros and cons, like always. Centralized gives you, all-in-one approach. So always, this is the great example that if you would like to consolidate your knowledge or your admins into the one place where you have a single pane in glass option to protect everything, it can be a huge benefit for, let's say, operational point of view, task, and the time consuming for each technology. The bad way in a centralized is that if you go and breach, and somebody will hack the one solution, it will go to the all of your data, most of your repositories that you are collecting in. Building the islands of the specialization gives you this approach that you always has this air gap between the different solutions. And to be honest, I'm fan of the both solutions. I believe that the centralized backups or data protection platforms are brilliant for this small and mid-sized companies. But if we're talking about the large enterprises, 10 years ago, I would say that I hate the dedicated islands. But right now, after I grew up and I took much more also responsibilities to providing my own platform to this kind of the enterprises, to building the dedicated island per project, per big one, can build you the benefit and this air gap that in case of any data breach, the whole company will collapse, but only the part of them. But this is also the way how we changing the way to building the application itself, from the monolith into the microservices, to have and to do not have always this shared responsibility and the option to move quickly or develop quickly some services outside, not as a one whole picture in this case.
So thank you, Paweł. And I think this is good time for questions of attendees of our meeting. And in this time when somebody would like to ask Paweł about something, this is good time for you, Paweł, at the end to say something to all people who are watching us.
Mm-hmm. I think we are living in COVID time, so saying stay safe. It's really important for all of us, not only as a people, as a humans, but also thinking the same into your data in your data centers. So we should let's think about how to properly address new challenges to keep our data in a good shape. So we should care about ourselves, and the same we should do with our data. So keep looking for the innovative solution, keep looking for not only for the biggest players, which has a lots of which have a lots of benefits, but they can in many cases slow you down. So look for let's look forward for some innovation and the startups like we are here, that can help you to achieve your daily basis challenges and help you to achieve a new goals. Not only data protection, but in the other fields, like you, Przemek, doing in a security area.
I see that there is no question, so I think this is end of our meeting. So thank you, Paweł, for attending us and be the guest of Cyphercast, and see you soon.
Thank you. Have a great day. Cheers.
Bye.